Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say, Call Halal Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father. In the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles that labored in this truth before me and taught me this truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Hey, the true biblical Israelites are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, as well as the Israelite foreigners scattered to the four corners of the earth, man. Right? And the people I just listed are the only ones that fit these curses in Deuteronomy 28. You know, people will try to tell you not to the Hebrew Israelites harp on the curses too much, but hey, this is what it says right here, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee, right? Verse 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, right? And the only person that's going to reverse these curses is the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, right? So you have to ask yourself, how do these so-called small hats, how do they claiming to be the people, but they're the richest in the world? You know, you can't say anything about them, right? Let's get this in the book of Isaiah 42 and I believe 22, right? This is talking about the children of Israel right here. We start at verse Isaiah 42 and we'll start at 22. It says, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey and none delivereth, for a spoil and none saith restore, right? So this is going to be the condition of the Israelites at the end of the world, man. You know, before the Messiah comes, he said, you know, the Israelites are going to be in a dire position. You can't say that about the small hats, man. You know, and the small hats are just Edomites. They're so-called white people, right? You know, and they're not going through what the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are going through. But let's get to the lesson, man. I'm going to talk about the spirit you should be in, a joyous spirit, right? Because you see, this empire is crumbling. We can see it, man. You can see it. The fiat currency, it's a sham, right? This money is worthless. Inflation is through the roof, right? The wise counselors of America, they're becoming dumber and dumber by the day. This guy Trump, man, he can't keep his mouth shut. And, you know, the so-called white man, Esau Edom, is not as slick as he used to be, right? He used to set things up and you could, like, he would deceive the world. Now, the average American is seeing through what these people are doing, right? So you got to be in a joyous spirit at this time, man. You know what I mean? And you got to be joyful for the Lord because you see he's working. He's doing a work in the world, man. So your spirit should be lifted, right? Let me get this. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 47 it says, because thou servest not Yahweh thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he destroyed thee. Right? And let's say right here, man, because you didn't serve the Most High God with joy. And we see that's a problem today. You know, our people, they don't want to serve the Most High God. They want to follow Christianity, and that's not serving the Most High God. Because the Most High God gives commandments that you're supposed to follow. You claim you love the Lord, yet you break every commandment. How is that possible? What is the matter of fact? Let's get that. Let's get that in the book of 1 John, man. How you love the Lord, right? You got to keep His commandments, man. You got to keep His commandments. Where is that? Let me see. What is it? 1 John. Yeah, 1 John 5. And I'm going to start. I'll just start at verse 1. It says, whosoever believeth that Yahweh Shai is the Hamashiach is born of the Most High. And everyone that loveth him that begot loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and keep His commandments. For this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? So this is talking about the Israelites. You got to keep the commandments, right? Because the commandments were only given to the children of Israel. They weren't given to the whole world. The law was given to Israel, right? Matter of fact, let's go there and get that. Book of Psalms. Psalms 147 and 19. It says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh, right? So the word was only shown to the children of Israel. That's why you see these harlot houses, which are called the churches. They don't keep none of the commandments. They tell you the commandments are done away with. That can't be possible, right? Because Paul himself said he would not know sin without the law, right? Let's get that. Would not know sin without the law, right? Let's get that real quick. This is the book of Romans. Romans 7 and 7. Let's pull it up right quick. Let's pull this up. Romans 7 and 7. It says, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Right? So the law is not done away with, man. Of course, we can't keep the law perfectly in this captivity in America, right? The place that they put pork in everything, right? You know, they cook pork everywhere. You know, you're supposed to destroy, if you cook pork on a stove or cook a pan, you cook an unclean animal in that pan, or it touches it, the carcass of an unclean animal touches anything, you're supposed to really destroy that. You can't cook clean food in a pan that's been used to prepare unclean food, right? So the law is impossible to keep perfectly here. We can't give animal sacrifices, right? That's why we had to lean on the grace. That's why we had to lean on the Messiah, right? And understanding that, man, you should serve the Most High even harder, right? But like it said back in Deuteronomy, it tells you, hey, a yoke of iron is going to be put upon your neck. That didn't happen to the small hats, man. Furthermore, hey, these curses are supposed to be upon you forever for a sign, so you can identify who the children of Israel are. That's the whole point of the curses, right? Because when you get Deuteronomy 30, it tells you, I'm going to jump straight to the point. Deuteronomy 30 and 7, it says, well, let me read this. Let me read verse 1 first. It says, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahweh thy God have driven thee, and shall return unto Yahweh thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, which with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God have scattered thee, right? So it's telling you right here, the curses are going to come upon you, right? Because in Deuteronomy 28, it tells you, hey, if you don't obey, these curses are going to come upon you. But in 2 chapters later, it tells you, yes, I already know the curses are going to come upon thee, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to turn back to me, and the curses are going to be lifted off of you, right? Because we'll jump down to verse 7. It says, and Yahweh thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee, right? And we already know every nation, damn near every nation, persecuted the children of Israel, right? That's where you get Psalms 83. Let's pull up Psalms 83, because it's going to list a whole bunch of nations that are the enemy of the Most High. Right, it's the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden one. Right, They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Right? The small hats will tell you, hey, I have my lineage all the way back to King David. How? Right? It just told you that the enemies of the Lord were going to cut off the name of Israel from your remembrance. Right? Furthermore, let's get this in Deuteronomy 17:4, right? Because you got to go precept upon precept, man. You can't just say things. You got to back it up with the scriptures. And people that are faithless, don't believe this Bible, won't ever go into the prophecies and back up their claims, right? This is Deuteronomy 17 and verse 4. It says, Jeremiah 17, my bad. Jeremiah 17 and 4. Right? It says, even thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Right? So it's telling you right here, hey, the children of Israel are going to lose their heritage. They're going to be kicked out of their land. They're going to lose their language, right? And we're going to get that in the curses, right? That's why you got so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Indians with slave masters' names. You ask a black man, so-called black man, what his last name is, you're going to get British names. You're going to get Irish names. You're going to get, an assortment of names that don't come from where they come from. You ask a Hispanic their last name, they're going to have a Spanish name, right? Why? Because those are the people that conquered them. You ask them what language they speak. They're going to tell you, I speak English. I speak Spanish. Those are oppressors' languages, right? You ask a Haitian, they're going to speak, various different form of French, right? Or like a Creole language, right? But it's not the original language that they spoke. The Native Indians, you can look up the Lost Lunar Stone, right? It was written in Paleo Hebrew, but they speak English now. That's us being discontinued from our heritage. Right, now let's go back to Psalms 83. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, right? That's the first enemy of the Most High God. And that's the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, right? Because in the book of 2nd Ezra just tells you that Esau is the beginning of the world. Let me get that. Let me just get it. This is 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So, and we know, if you read Isaiah, Isaiah 63, I believe, it tells you when the Messiah comes back, he's stomping Esau, Edom, like someone stomping the wine press, man. Right, let me get it. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Right? This is Basra represents today the capital city of Edom, which is United States of America, Mystery Babylon, right? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth the wine fat. Verse 3, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments. And I will stain all my raiment, for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come, right? So Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, who the world calls Jesus Christ, he's not coming to give hugs and kisses, man. He's coming with a sword, man. And the Bible tell you that. Let's get this in, I believe it's Isaiah 66 and 15. Right? Yeah. The book of Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. Right? So, you know what I mean? Yahweh Shai is coming back to destroy, you know what I mean, a lot of nations, man, especially those in America are going to be destroyed. The nations outside of America, they'll be preserved for captivity. They're going into captivity under the Israelites so they can be ruled over righteously, right? So we're back here in Psalms 83, verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom, right? We're going back into the enemies of the Most High God, right? And the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites are the Arabs. They'll tell you that, right? Of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, right? So it's telling you all these nations, man, are enemies of the Most High God. So you know what I mean? We got to stop with the universalism, man. Right? Let me get back here in Deuteronomy 28, right? So it says, yeah, I'll start back in verse 47. It says, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. When you look at that eagle, man, the Edomite nations, their spirit animal is the eagle. You look at the monuments in Petra, Mount Seir, right? They got eagles at the top, and the architecture is the same thing that you see in Washington, D.C., man. This Roman Empire, which was originally called the Edomite Empire, right? You can look that up, right? This is Rome reincarnated. Even if you look at Washington, D.C., it was originally called Rome, Maryland. These devils are letting you know who they are. Right, but there's a reason why they don't want to be called. They don't want you claiming to be the Israelites. They don't want you taking your heritage. Why? Because the true Israelites are going to destroy the veil that's been put on the earth. Right, let's get that. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah 25 and 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations, right? So he's got these people calling themselves Chinese, got these people calling themselves, Africans, Ethiopians, these different names. But, hey, the biblical name is what's going to open up the truth. Once you find out who Esau Edom is, and you realize that this man is the goddamn devil, it's going to change the way you move in this society. Right? You're going to detach from the society and turn back to the Most High God. Stop celebrating these pagan holidays, right? The oppressors' holidays. And that's what kills me about these people that are so-called pro-black and stuff like that. And they still celebrate Christmas, right? You're so against the white man, the so-called white man, but you're celebrating all his holidays. You're obsessed with consumerism, right? You haven't detached yourself from this world. You're still obsessed with success in this world, right? And being accepted by this world instead of having success in the Most High God's eyes, living a righteous life, right? That's all I got on that. Let's get back into this lesson. Let's go to 1 Timothy 1 and 12, because hey, it's an honor to be woken up to this truth, man. Right? 1 Timothy 1 and 12, and it reads, and I thank Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, our Lord, who hath enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry. Right? It's a blessing to be put in this ministry, and you gotta treat it as such, man. You gotta come with joy, man. Joy to do the work of the Lord. Right? Joy to prophesy, joy to teach, joy to celebrate his holy days, joy is to keep his laws, his commandments to the best of your ability, man. It should be a joyful thing to change your diet, right? It should be a joyful thing that, you know what I mean, to come under the spirit of discipline. That should brighten your countenance, right? It said wisdom makes a man's face to shine. Right? You can't be ashamed of what you learned. That don't mean you got to go out and tell everybody, hey, I'm an Israelite. But no, they should see that something changed in you by your walk, right? You know, you can't hide, what did it say? You can't hide a candle, right? Let me get that. Let me get that real quick. Right, so this is St. Matthew 5, and I believe 14. Is that what it is? Yeah, so I'm going to start here. St. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven, right? You don't got to be over righteous, rebuking everybody, you know what I mean, trying to force the truth on people. Nah, man. They should be drawn, right? And really do the way you move, that should draw people to the Most High God, right? But it's not for everybody, you know? You can't force it on people. You can't be one of them bug outs and every person you see, you're obsessed with telling them, hey, you're an Israelite. Nah, man, if you do the work, that's enough. If you go out and teach, that's enough, right? You don't got to be at the job site. You at the slavery, you at the plantation trying to wake people up. Nah, bro, go out and do the work, right? And if that's not enough, go do some videos, put some videos up. The Most High God has given us many avenues to go out and push this truth and wake our people up and feed the sheep, right? Don't be a slothful servant. Get on your post. Go out here and blow the trumpet. Let the people know, man. You know? This is the book of Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 10. Then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto Yahweh. Neither be ye sorry, for the joy of Yahweh is your strength, right? The joy of Yahweh is your strength, man. Being joyful. You got to do, everything you can do, you got to do with joy, man. Hey, you blessed to wake up another day. Like a lot of Israelites, you know what I mean? They talk about hastening the day. And we all looking forward to the day of the Lord, man. Lord willing, we be of that number of the elect that be saved. But that's what everybody's looking forward to in this truth. Or you should be looking forward to. If you're not looking forward to that, you need to check your spirit, man. But hey, while we're waiting, while we're occupying till he gets here, man, you got to be joyful every day you wake up, man. It's another blessing to add good works to your spiritual bank account. You know, it's another day to learn more. It's another day to go out and prophesy, right? Put up lessons, right? Edify your brothers. You know what I mean? Exhort the sheep. That's the type of spirit you should be in, man. You should be joyful for another day, right? You can't be in this woe is me spirit, man. You know? Because we still got lost sheep out here. Let's get this, right? It's the book of St. Matthew chapter 10 and verse 6. It says, I'll start at 5. It says, these 12 Yahweh Shai sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? You got to repent. The kingdom of heaven is almost here, man. And be joyful at that. Every day you see is another day closer, right? And that's how you got to move, man. You got to be thankful, right? Let me see what else I got on here. Right? Let's see. Right, let me get this in Deuteronomy 22 and 10, man. Deuteronomy 22 and verse 10, right? It says, thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together, right? And that's the thing, man. You want to be spiritually tied up with people that are fired up for the truth, man. People that are joyful, right? Anything in life, man, you don't want to be around spiritual vampires, people that are draining your energy, just being around them is a drag. Nah, bro, you gotta detach yourself from that energy. Or if you can't detach yourself from it, right, you gotta be around that sparingly, and you gotta build yourself up with energy that's gonna sustain you, right? You can't plow an ox with an ass, man. What Paul said, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, right? That unbelieving spirit is gonna bring you down, man. That's why you get this cast not pearls, right? Cast not pearls before swine. Let me get that. Come on. Hold up. Pearls before swine. Pearls before swine. Right. Right, so this is the book of St. Matthew chapter 7 verse 6. It says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you, right? So, hey, man, you can't be out here, trying to give the truth to people it's not meant to get it, The Most High God will put the spirit on people, coming to your life, and they'll inquire about it, man. Don't be out here trying to force people to believe the truth. That's not how the Most High deals. You gotta be ready for the time when it's time to teach, right? You gotta be in position. And how do you do that? You continuously pray. You continuously stay in the spirit, right? Let me get this 1 Timothy 4:16. I'm gonna get it in the AMP. Let's see what it says in the AMP, right? It says, this is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4:16 in the AMP. It says, pay close attention to yourself. Concentrate on your personal development, and to your teaching, preserve in these things, hold to them. For as you do this, you will ensure salvation both for yourself and for those who hear you, right? And let me get this in St. Matthew 4:4, right? Because you gotta focus on personal development, build yourself up in the spirit, so that when people come around you, that vibration is mighty, right? Because this is what Yahweh Shai said, right? This book of St. Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High, right? And when you speak, you should sound like the Most High, right? Especially if you're a prophet. Everything you say should be aligned with the wisdom of the Most High God, right? That's our heritage, the wisdom of this book, right? We can get that in Deuteronomy. I believe that's Deuteronomy 4, right? The word is your wisdom. Let me see. Right. Right. So, you know what I mean? So, hey, when you come with the wisdom of this book, other people are going to be drawn to you. They're going to want to seek advice from you. Why? Because you're following the law, statutes, and commandments. You're following an ancient way, right? A way that's from antiquity. You should be an ancient spirit. People should feel that when they talk to you, right? You're not emotional. You're coming straight through reason, right? With heavenly reason. You're following the ways of the Most High God, which are higher than our understanding, right? Because this is what it says in Deuteronomy 4, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. It says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people, right? So your understanding comes from the knowledge of the Most High God, man. Lean not on your understanding, right? Bring every thought into the captivity of Hamashiach, right? Follow the lead of Yahweh Shai. Right, because if you are an athlete, you're a basketball player, football player, right? You're gonna follow the best player. If I'm a hooper, I'm following Michael Jordan. How did Mike move, right? They say he was the first one in, last one to leave. That's how you should be at this word, man. Right? You should be striving to get mighty in the word every single day, bro. There's no off days when you're a minister of the Lord, right? Especially if you're a prophet, right? If you're striving to be of the elect, hey, man, you got to do the works of the elect. right? You got to show us. You got to show thyself approved. Let me get that. Let me get that. Right. Study to show. Right. This is 2 Timothy. This is 2 Timothy 2:15. Right. And it reads, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Verse 16, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Right? And that's the thing, man. You got to study to show thyself approved. We can't just be going out here winging it. That's a problem, man. A lot of people want to wing it, right? They'll see one thing in the scripture and they go out and build a whole doctrine and not understanding that, hey, this thing is built intricately, right? Everything is connected when you're reading the scriptures, right? So you got to come correct. You got to teach the correct doctrine, man. You got to study. Study to show thyself approved, man. You know what I mean? We're not speed running nothing. We being diligent, right? You got to be diligent. All right, let's get that. Give diligence. Diligence, all right? Dang, this don't want to give me the scriptures. So let me get it. I gotta look it up. Give diligence. Right. This is 2 Peter. This is 2 Peter 1:10. He says, wherefore, I started 10. It says, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fail. Right? You got to be diligent, man. Let's look at this word diligent. Let's get this word real quick. Right? Diligence. Spadazo, right? Strong's G 4704. To hasten, make haste, to exert oneself, endeavor, give diligence, right? You know, and it's, you know what I mean? One of the translations for this word is labor, right? Make effort, be prompt or earnest, right? You know, labor, study. You know what I mean? You got to study to make your call and election sure. You got to be in these scriptures, right? When you look at the root word, spode, right? Haste, with haste, right? You have a sense of urgency in what you're doing, man. You got to be urgent, right? You should want to get to know every scripture in the Bible. Even if you never do, that should be the mentality, man. You got to serve the Most High with joy, right? Because we didn't serve him with joy. That's why we're in captivity today, right? Earnestness, diligence, right? Earnestness in accomplishing, right? Let's get this word definition for this word, earnestness. Let's look that up, right? Sincere, intense conviction, right? Hey man, if you go out and teach, you should believe every word that you saying, bro. You can't be outside. You know what I mean? There's certain people that said, hey, I never believed that, the Gentiles couldn't be saved, right? Or when the Bible says Gentiles, they believe they was talking about, you know what I mean, actual other nations. When we know the word Gentile just means nation, right? And we know that, hey, you get in the book of Ephesians 2, right, 11 on down, it tells you that, hey, our people were in a Gentile state, right? You get the book of Maccabees, it goes through the Greek captivity and how we lost our heritage or lost our identity and started calling ourselves Greeks. It was illegal to call yourself a Jew, right? But these people are saying they were going out and teaching something they didn't believe for years. Now they decide, oh, well, I'm going to go out and teach what I really thought. Well, how about all those years you were leading the sheep astray, teaching something you didn't believe, right? You got to have conviction, right? That's what faith is, a conviction in something, right? To give all diligence, interest oneself more earnestly, right? But let me get this, and because our people didn't serve the Most High God in truth and sincerity, right? They weren't convicted, right? Let me get this in the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. It says, "Give not thy honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation." What's profitable to us? Salvation. You trying to save other nations, man, and our people need to be saved. Right? It tells you in the book of Micah that the Israelites are going to be the ones teaching the nations, right? Because that's what the new covenant is. Salvation is tied to the new covenant. So let's get this. I'm going to get this real quick. This book of Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8. Right? Because the part of salvation is getting new bodies, getting glorified bodies that you will sin no more. But we know, according to Zechariah 14 and 16, go read that, 16 on down, it tells you that the heathen are going to be sinning in the kingdom. They're going to have to be told to go keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But here's what it says in Hebrews 8 and 8. It says, for finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days cometh, the days come, saith Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. I don't see no heathens included in this, right? Verse 9, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make, with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from least to the greatest. Right? That's for Israel. Being sinless is for Israel. It's not for everybody, man. Right? Because it's the book of Micah chapter 4 and verse 2. It says, and many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mount of Yahweh, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Right? Verse 3, and he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Right? So, hey, there's going to be no more war when the Most High, when the Israelites receive salvation. And it tells you right here that Mount Zion, which is representative of the people, because John the Revelator saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the sky. Who was in the sky? If you read Revelation 15, it tells you, or Revelation 14:15, right? It tells you that the Israelites are going to be beamed up. Right, and they're going to come back down, and that's the kingdom. That's New Jerusalem, right? Because Micah is telling you about a kingdom that is ruled by a group of people, right? Ruled by a government. Because when you get Isaiah 9 and 6, it says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, right? Let me look at this word for government real quick. It's Masharah, right? Rule, dominion, government, right? And that's gonna be the Israelites. They're given dominion over the earth, right? Let's get this in Psalms 2. Psalms 2 and 8, it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for an inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right? Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Right? This is talking about rulership. Right? The Israelites are going to get rulership. Right? Because the Israelites are the only ones that can rule in righteousness. Because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's what it says in 1 Corinthians 15, right? What does that mean? You have to be changed at a twinkling of an eye, right? To rule over in righteousness, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. This is talking to the Israelites, right? Verse 27, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father, right? So the Israelites are gonna get the rule with Yahweh Shai. That's what that Micah 4 is talking about, man. You know, let me go back over here to Baruch, right? So I'm gonna read this again in Baruch chapter 4 and verse 3. Give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto a strange nation. Right? Stop trying to give these nations salvation is not for them. Salvation is being saved from your enemies. We just read Psalm 83. Damn near every nation out here is our enemy. Well, all the other nations are enemies, right? That's what Psalm 83 is telling you. They're taking crafty counsel against us. They keep us from knowing that we're the Israelites. They keep us from repenting, right? Verse 4. O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to the Most High are made known unto us. Be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel, right? This is talking to the Israelites. Verse 3, it says, give not that which is profitable to a strange nation. Then you read verse 5, it's talking to Israel, right? Verse 6, you were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto thine enemies, right? You were delivered to your enemies. Now let's get this in the book of Luke, chapter 21 and 24, right? And this is right here. It's talking about 70 AD, the sacking of the temple, when the Romans came and destroyed the temple and exiled the Israelites out of their land, right? What does it say? St. Luke chapter 21, verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, right? So if you're led into all nations, and Baruch 4 and 6 just said, you were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved on the Most High to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. The Edomites are our enemies, right? The Most High God has enemies, right? Let me get this in Revelation 13. I'm going to start at 9, right? Just to tie it all together and close out, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, right? This is what the saints are waiting for, because the saints went into captivity under every nation, right? They shall be led captive into all nations. So all nations are the enemies, right? Because Baruch 4 and 6 said, you weren't delivered to the enemies for your destruction, because you moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered to the enemies. And the enemies that lead you into captivity shall go into captivity. It's simple, man. It's simple, right? Right, but hey, man, Yahushua Hamashiach, the Messiah has come back to deliver us out of this mystery Babylon. Hey, man, just stay joyful. Stay in the spirit. Hey, man, hey, till next time, Shalom. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Shalom.